So, developers Behemutt have finally released their new game, Manaspark, on Steam. I've been following the progress of this project on GameJolt for a while now, seeing it evolve year after year, and from build to build. You could say that I have quite a lot of experience with Manaspark, and now that a full build has finally been released, I'd like to review the game in its entirety, and you can make the judgment for yourselves as to whether or not it's worth your time. For starters, I'd like to go over most of the mechanics of the game, and then a little bit of the story. In a world where being human means you're on the bottom of the food chain, monsters that can wield the energy known as mana hunt down and enslave those weaker than them. Humans hide as best as they can, and those that are found are either put to work or outright killed. One day, a band of monsters happen upon a human settlement and begin raiding it. Though instead of simply slicing through everyone they come across, the monsters located specific people in the camp and kidnapped them. Finally, having enough of the way things were, a group of humans decided to strike back at their tormentors. By definition, Manaspark is a roguelike, dungeon-crawling RPG with a procedurally generated map that makes each playthrough feel unique within itself, and a Binding of Isaac-esque upgrade system where you gain one random item every amount of floors that powers your character up in specific ways. In a run, the player is tasked with tracking the monsters to their lair and fighting their way through hordes of different foes, each with their own attack patterns, damage output, and special abilities that put the player on edge and make each encounter one that requires their full attention. There is a single playable character in the beginning, as well as two unlockable ones that you obtain through progression. You start out with Ellis the Hunter, who has medium damage and fights at a distance with a bow. His arrow shots have a cooldown after each use, and he is rooted in place when he is aiming to take his shots. He also can dodge enemy attacks with a well-timed roll that provides invincibility frames if used correctly. After that is Jayska, the crossbow guard. Her crossbow doesn't require her to stand in place while she shoots, and she can fire at quite a considerable speed. On top of that, she can dash around in a flash, but her bolts do less damage than Ellis's arrows, and her dash has no iframes. Finally, we have Wyatt the warrior. Forgoing the safe and cautious mentality of fighting from a distance, Wyatt strictly fights using a sword, which does the most amount of damage out of the three characters, and a shield, which roots him in place and allows him to tank certain attacks, in exchange for having no movement-based escape abilities. How you use these characters and their effectiveness is up to you, and I found playing with all three of them to be enough of a different experience that each one deserves to exist. A good resistance effort is only as good as its support, and these three have an entire camp of individuals brave enough to lend their talents to your cause. Runes are the currency of the realm, and these humans are eager to get their hands on as many as you can bring back from your travels. Vihan keeps records of the lore you come across, as well as being able to weaken a certain enemy type for a price. Faiska, the blacksmith, can upgrade your equipment once you use it once, and Michael the chef can cook meals for you to bring along that buff you in certain ways, like giving you more health, damage, and even making enemies drop gold coins more often. In the beginning, getting used to how each enemy fights, as well as how quickly you can die by something you weren't aware of or overwhelmed by, can be a frustrating experience, but one that makes you want to immediately head out and conquer as soon as you're faced with new opposition. The game is hard, and your health usually dwindles down very quickly, which is reminiscent of games like Dark Souls or the aforementioned The Binding of Isaac. The map is laid out for you immediately, so you can chart your progress as you go, and your goal in each floor is to find the staircase that's indicated by these red bars. The exit is blocked off until you locate the switch or switches necessary to unlock it, which prevents you from simply gunning it to the end, and can put you in a precarious state when you have just a sliver of health left, and you have to fight your way through yet another room full of enemies. Certain rooms offer a little more variety to the mix with mini-boss rooms, which offer an optional challenge to face a more advanced foe in exchange for a new item and some loot. There are also offering rooms that allow you to bond an item permanently to your character by bringing your health down to 1 and facing it off against 3 waves of random enemies. After a certain amount of floors, you'll come across what's known as a peculiar room, which allows a brief respite from your journey as you spend your gold on items, new equipment, and even rest to step away from the game. Each enemy, as I've said before, has their own methods of attacking. You'll need to memorize and adapt to each one, in conjunction with others if you hope to survive. Some enemies even work together, such as goblins riding the wolves and skeleton warriors protecting nearby orcs or necromancers. After delving deep enough, you'll come across one of the bosses of the game, which add a little more of a challenge to your quest and open your path up to the next more difficult area. The graphics themselves are pixelated sprites and are done very well for what they are, Animations are fluid, water effects ripple and reflect like they're supposed to, sound effects are on point and don't feel out of place, and the soundtrack complements the aesthetic that the game is going for quite nicely. And with that, I mean, that's the game. After you inevitably close the gap between your skill set and the game's difficulty, you'll find quite a lot of repetition. There are 19 enemies in the game, and although the game boasts that each playthrough will feel unique due to the amount of rooms that you can enter, I imagine that by the end of your playthrough, you'll find that you've played in each one over 4 dozen times. The items themselves are also slightly shallow, as each character essentially pulls from the same pool of items, barring ones unique to each character's abilities. And you'll have builds that end up looking quite similar to each other in subsequent playthroughs. There are also only 3 areas to play in, and 3 area bosses, making each run seem unfortunately all too predictable. The final boss, which I won't show as it may spoil the story, is also way too overpowered. The boss's health bar is essentially double that of the previous 2 combined. The attacks deal far too much damage and can make spending over 20 minutes trekking through the same environments over and over an unlikable experience. I'm not one to shy away from a challenge, but I also don't like having my time wasted by getting cheaply one-shotted by something when I had full health. Speaking of challenges, there is a challenge mode that you can unlock after beating the game for the first time, which strips you of any add-ons your character has besides their base abilities, and locks you out of any progression your character can unlock by random item drops, shops, or mini-boss fights. Sadly, this is the only post-game content, and you can easily find yourself without things to do after beating everything the game has to offer. In my opinion, the game has very little replay value outside of challenging yourself to the spicy burrito challenge. Burrito. I enjoyed my time playing this game for the most part. I enjoyed unlocking everything, and I will be returning to play the game to finish the challenge mode. But a part of me feels like there's a bunch more that could be added to the game. It's far too linear, and for the price that it's asking for, $10, I feel like it definitely could use some upgrades. The original Binding of Isaac on Steam is $5, and the Binding of Isaac Rebirth is $15. And in my opinion, both of these games offer far more variety and replayability than Mana Spark has to offer. So with that, I'm going to give this game a 6 out of 10. Great tight controls, good visuals and audio, but too sparse and too linear of gameplay. It needs more content. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been another video that I'm doing in this new format. I know I basically stripped my channel of all the Let's Plays that I had on there, and that's only because I didn't want people to be confused whenever I uploaded these new videos that have to do with like game journalism, reviews, and stuff like that. So if there was people out there that are trying to find all my videos or suddenly see in their favorites that my videos are gone, that's because I just put them all on private, so I apologize. But also with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. If you could sit here and listen to my spiel for just a second, if you could by all means like the video, it shows your support and helps this video get thrust into YouTube's algorithm so that other people can see it. Behemutt, I love the game. Thank you guys so much for working with me as you guys basically like they give me a copy of the game to beta test and to like play, so I got it completely for free, so I appreciate thank you guys so much. If you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe. It helps bolster the numbers and helps my channel get shown off to more people. And in the description below, you'll also find my social media. There's the there's the Discord server that you guys can join. There's a whole bunch of other cool people that you can talk to directly. I have my Twitter, where I post updates and stuff like that. You can DM me if you have anything that you would like to tell me. YouTube comments are also a good way to say things. Have you guys purchased the game? Do you guys think that this game is worthwhile? Leave those in the comments below. And I also have a Patreon. I'm not asking for much, and I'm not asking for anything from you guys specifically. If you guys feel compelled to support me and help me to get out more of these videos in the future quicker and turn this into more of a serious job for me, then by all means, Patreon's there for that. But that being said, third time I said that, you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next slew of videos that I've been working on. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. See you around.